All right, it's 3 o'clock. Welcome to the June 26, 2019 meeting of the Urban Design Commission. We call the roll, please.
Lee Peoples.
Here.
Anthony Blatt. Jorge Charnico.
Here.
Matt Guillory.
Here.
Tyler Holmes. Sarah Miller. Toon Nguyen.
Here.
Marcus Uday. James Burnham. You have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item is the approval of minutes from our May 22nd, 2019 meeting. Commissioners, are there any changes or corrections to the minutes? Hearing nothing, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have no cases withdrawn. We have no continuance requests. So we'll move on to the consent docket, UDCA 1912. Staff, could we have a report on this?
This is an item that typically we've reviewed it against the applicable design guidelines, which there aren't many in UD for murals. This item has been through the Arts Commission review, and they have recommended approval of the installation of the mural, and as a result, we've placed it on a consent docket for your consideration.
Okay, thank you for the update. Are there any commissioners or members of the public that would like to discuss this? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent docket.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that item is approved. We'll now move on to cases for individual consideration. The first one is UDCA 19-4, 1732 Northwest 23rd Street.
Yes, this item is a proposal for a demolition of an existing building at the southeast corner of Northwest 23rd Street and North Florida Avenue, directly across the street from Oklahoma City University. And in addition to the demolition, they have proposed a new mixed-use structure, 2 stories with residential on top, retail office on the the first floor, and a parking lot in the rear. This application was submitted to us quite a while ago, back in early 2019. However, it proposed to utilize a portion of an alley at the rear of the site for the parking lot that was proposed in association with the project. I could show you that right here. So the alley lies on the south end of the site, and while it was closed back in 1926, it was never formally vacated. So from the time they submitted to us back in February to the time that they got to you, before you today, they had to go through the legal process and going through the county and getting it legally vacated. So that part of the process has been taken care of, and that's why we've been able to bring it before you today. This item involves, as I said, the construction of the building along with closure of existing driveways, opening new driveways, removal of existing pole signs, addition of a monument sign, some lighting and installation of landscaping, trash enclosure, and some fencing. The only item at issue here is the parking. By code, the project requires 26 parking stalls. They were able to reduce that to a requirement of 25 by the provision of bicycle stalls. So they're at 25 now with the 20 in the parking lot, plus the 5 proposed stalls that are on street in the eastern right-of-way of North Florida Avenue. This is kind of a chicken and egg thing. A lot of times when we have these on-street parking stall solutions, they will go to the Traffic Commission first and then come here. In this case, in talking with Public Works, they preferred in this particular situation that it come to the Commission first and then go to them, because they were kind of like, well, we don't want to waste our time looking at the parking stalls unless the Commission's okay with the project itself. So that's kind of the way it laid out this time. And we are recommending approval of the project with the condition that they obtain a variance in case one of the 5 on-street stalls is not approved. And that basically concludes the presentation. Let me give you a little look at the elevations of the building. So we're prepared to respond to any questions or comments that the commission may have.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? Architect, would you like to speak to the project? Please give us your name and address and sign in.
Joe Nelly, 700 Waterwood, Norman, Oklahoma. Architect here in Oklahoma since forever. My client, first we were going to do a restaurant. She owns restaurants in the neighborhood. And we were going to do a restaurant, and we decided financially, once we got it all approved, the plans done, that it wasn't financially pliable. So she sat back. It's been about 2 years, I think, Michael, probably 2 since that one. And she decided that she wanted to come forward with a mixed-use facility, turned into retail and with some residential on the top. She likes the modern concepts that are going on, Class and Circle, and those kind of buildings that are kind of more modern. I call it an urban modern. The codes changed since we went from the restaurant to this, where parking went to the back and the buildings moved to the front. And it wasn't, she liked it better that way. She, she approved that 100%, was okay with it. It's kind of a corner site. We have a 10-foot, because we're on a corner, we lose 10 feet of usable space. We have a 10-foot setback. And that impacts the parking, it impacts the building, the economics of it. So we looked at possibility of putting 5 stalls along the Florida Street. And if you know Florida Street, it dead ends, or it tees about 2 blocks to the south. And it pretty much dead ends into 23rd. So it's a very short, it's not a major artery. It's a very short street. Residential access is pretty much what comes in on that street. We have plenty of room right away that we can put our spaces in there. I have problems with telephone poles and guy wires and all kinds of things that are traffic signals and everything. We missed all those, and that's why you see a split, and we put a landscape in between a couple of spaces. We're asking that you approve so we can take this thing to the Traffic Commission and work with them to get this thing resolved. There's not too many alternatives to do this, short of guy wires and telephone poles being moved. But we look forward to working with them to resolve that situation. So I think it's a good building for the community. I think it's going to, it kind of tailors in to this side. We've got residential, and to this side it pretty much goes commercial, and we kind of split it in two. We have residential and commercial. So it's kind of a married buffer that can take off and start heading towards Classen. So with that said, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
I just want to clarify my comments at the end of my presentation. There is no variance involved with this request. That there was at one time. We had a kind of a twofold, two-step recommendation for you at one time in this report, and I forgot that we dropped it. What we've got before you, instead of giving you that two-step process, is we've just recommended approval with a condition that they get approval from Traffic Commission for the 5 stalls. If that, for whatever reason, does not happen, they would have to come back before you and get the variance for the parking.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions from the commission for the applicant's architect?
Are these units going to be for lease or for sale?
Please.
You mentioned that this is a mixed-use space. How many units are for the residential, and is there like a restaurant or any kind of?
It won't have a restaurant because we're not zoned for a restaurant. It'll have more like office or anything that fits in with the, which is in our zoning, more business type. That's the bottom, okay? It has three leasable, they could lease the whole thing, okay? Or they can lease one or two or whatever. It has 3 units on top of that. That's the residential.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this case? Yeah, please come up and give us your name and address and sign in, please.
My name is Andrew Snyder. I live at 1729 Northwest 22nd. That would be the property that backs directly to the south of this. I believe on the yeah, right there. And I've got the notice in the mail for this. Just like to say that on our end, as far as being a direct neighbor, we support this. It looks good to us, and we'd be happy to have it in our neighborhood.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to this item? Do we have any comments or discussion among the commissioners?
Just a comment. I happen to be really familiar with this corner. I turn onto this street going south about twice a day to drop off and pick up my daughter from school. I believe across the street from this site to the west, there is a daycare operating on that corner. And in the mornings, there's a lot of traffic stopped right there on Florida, dropping off kids and things like that. I don't think it should impact this, but it's just something to take into consideration. That corner does have a tendency to get tight in the mornings. A lot of times it's because of people doing not necessarily 100% legal traffic maneuvers. The applicant shouldn't be penalized for that, but I think it looks like a good project.
Your parking on Florida, is that to the south? I'm trying to look at the map here. Do any of those come close to 23rd, or are those more to the south of the lot?
It's about 45 feet from 23rd.
Okay.
And that's the 88 ramp first. That's 90.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, just get your response on the microphone so we can have it recorded. Thank you.
I can sign this. It's 45 feet to the edge of the ramp. You can see the right where Michael's pointing. So that first handicap space, and we know handicap spaces are not used 100% of the time. So we take that into mind. So it's the best place to put it. So really we have more than 50 feet, 60 feet before we get to the first parking stall. So we have plenty of room for any kind of car maneuvering or anything that has to happen there.
Okay, thank you.
Am I dismissed?
Yeah. Any other comments or discussion from the commission? Would anyone like to make a motion? And I've been reminded by council that we could do this in one motion that would both approve the application and add the condition that approval be received from the Traffic Commission.
I'll put forward a motion to approve the application on the basis that the project meets the regulation and guidelines of the Urban Design Overlay District Zoning Ordinance as referenced in Section C and D of the staff report, with the condition that the applicant shall obtain approval from the Traffic Commission for the 5 proposed on-street parking stalls on North Florida Avenue.
All right, we have a motion from Charnico. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Gilroy. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is conditionally approved. Move on to item 6B, UDCA 19-15, 625 Northwest 7th.
Yeah, this is an application for a vacant lot on the north side of Northwest 7th Street between North Lee and North Dewey. The applicant has proposed the construction of actually 2 structures, one in front being the main residence of 3-story single-family residence, and then in the back there's a detached garage with a secondary dwelling unit above it. And because the 2 dwelling units are not attached, it's considered a multifamily dwelling. That's why it's referenced that way under item 4, B4 of your staff report. We reviewed this proposal against all the applicable development standards and design guidelines that are effective in the cottage district, and the only issue we've come across is the use of wood on a portion of the second story of the main structure in the front. And this is not unlike many other recent homes that have been constructed and designed in the cottage district area where accent material has been chosen as wood. Many times we've had cedar, knotty pine, ipe wood. This is the first time we've had something called garapa wood, which is similar to ipe from what I understand. And the applicant is proposing to use that, and we've reviewed it against the quality standards and warranty and durability standards and find it to be acceptable material, and therefore we are recommending approval of this project to the Commission.
I did have a question, Michael. I noticed since we're now under the revised guidelines, this doesn't have to comply with that 18-inch, being up 18 inches off of
that requirement is no longer on the books.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. The applicant, would you like to come forward and speak to the project?
Frank Haas, 2617 Prescott Ave, Edmond, Oklahoma, designer, builder, this property. We're doing it's a single-family home for, it's custom for the people that are going to be living in it, and it's an in-law suite, essentially, for over the garage in the back. It's been a pretty nice project to work on. It'll have a full alley access. It'll be full 2-car garage in the back for the alley access, and then one pull-through, almost carport garage door to block off the backyard courtyard area from the alley. It's all brick stucco home. We're going to have a garapa siding is on the front as an accent. We'll also have the garapa same wood, which is a Brazilian ash. It's much harder than a lot of the stuff that we've used in the neighborhood, cedars and knotty pines. It's not quite as durable as the ipe, but it's right up there with it. So The benefit of this particular wood and what we're using for in this design is it silvers really well and consistently. So what we're going to do is pre-silver the wood before we put it up so it won't look and watch it age. We're going to have it silvered and sealed and then put up. So I think it'll be a nice low to no maintenance product in this particular house, and that's what we're really trying to go with on this house is less maintenance for the homeowner. I don't know if there's anything else. Sorry.
Any questions for the applicant? Is the owner intending to occupy
Yes.
the residence?
Yeah.
Any questions from the audience? Anybody that would like to speak on this? Any comments or questions from the commission? I would just add I like the use of the Garapa wood. I know it's been hard to locate or source in the past, so I know it to be a very long-lasting and durable material, so I think it would be a good addition.
Yeah, we're also using it for the fencing too, so I think it's going to be a nicer, long-lasting compared to some of the other stuff. Oklahoma weather really beats up any type of woodwork. So.
Any other comments or questions from the commission? Well, the use of the Garapa wood doesn't require any kind of variance or additional approval. We would just need a basic recommendation, which is set out in the staff report if any member would like to make a motion.
I'll motion to go ahead and approve the recommendations.
We have a motion by Nguyen, or do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second by Gilroy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, project's approved.
Thank you.
That takes care of our cases for individual consideration. We have no other business. We do have 5 communication items there. Would any commissioner like a discussion of any of those? Do we have any comments from planning staff? Any comments from the commissioners? Our next meeting will be July 24th, and applications were due June 25th for that meeting. And with that, we will be adjourned.
Okay, we do have cases for the July meeting, so don't go anywhere.
There was one continued from a couple months ago.
It's that one.
That one, okay.